video, I'm going to show you how to clear fractions from equations using LCD. So the first equation is x plus 2/3 equals 1/4 x minus 1. Now, when you're solving equations with fractions, you can do this however you want. You could have some scratch work off to the side to do your fraction operations. I personally don't like fractions. They become a nuisance. And so I would prefer to work with no fractions when I'm solving an equation. Now, the way you do this is you use the multiplication property of equality to multiply the entire equation by a value that will clear the fractions. You can do this by finding the LCD of the denominators. So in this case, that would be 3 and 4. Now, if I count by 3s and I count by 4s, the common value would be 12. You can also get this sometimes by multiplying the denominators together. 3 times 4 is 12. So I'm going to multiply the entire equation by 12. Now, I always tell my students to write 12 over 1 as a fraction. So you can imagine multiplying the numerators and denominators. 12 times x is 12x. 12 times 2 is 24. And 1 times 3 is 3. So I'm going to write this out, and you don't have to do this each time, but just so you can see the visual of how it's going to clear the fraction. 12 times 1 is 12. And 1 times 4 is 4. Bring the x. Be very careful to always bring your x if there's an x term. 12 times -1 is -12. Now you might be saying, hey, the fractions are still there. Well, if we think about how to simplify these, we're going to get whole numbers. So 24 divided by 3 is 8, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I have 12x plus 8 equals 3x minus 12. And now I can simply move all my variables to the left using inverse operations. Bring the constants down. Don't forget this is a -12. Move all my constants to the right. This is same sign sum, add them and keep the sign. Use the multiplication of property of equality to isolate the variable. And my answer turns out to be a fraction, which is fine. I'll leave it like that. Now for the next example, I'm going to show you what to do if you have distributive property. This can really trip some students up. And so for this example, I have 7/4 times the quantity of x minus 1 equals 7/8. You might be tempted to distribute first. You don't have to do that. Remember, distributive property is multiplication. So if I think about the common denominator between 4 and 8, so let's see, LCD of 4 and 8. You might be tempted to say 32 because 4 times 8 is 32, or even 16. However, 8 is the common denominator between 4 and 8 because 4 is a factor of 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by 8 over 1. However, since the quantity of x minus 1 is already being multiplied, I'm not going to double multiply. I'm only multiplying the 8 by the value outside parentheses. And then I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So this gives me 56/4 times the quantity of x minus 1 equals 56/8. Now, again, you might be saying, hey, there's still fractions. Well, let's see if we can simplify. 56 divided by 4 right here is equivalent to 14. 14 times the quantity of x minus 1 equals 56 divided by 8 is 7. Now I can simply distribute the 14. Move all my constants to the right side. Divide on both sides and leave my answer as a fraction if that applies.